it. And we give you the chance to like ask and address us a couple tricky questions or detailed questions in technical sense, in art sense, in all kinds of sense, and we try to answer them quite properly. So you're just going to post your questions in the stream, and our team from developer side, from our side, and also our partner publisher side, Astragon, is supporting us and then publishing, or not publishing, actually showing us these questions, and we're going to try to then address those to the team here and try to answer those. I think, first of all, we're probably going to introduce ourselves. So I'm actually Andy. I'm running the studio of Azure in Munich. We are a studio with roughly around 50 people. And Police is currently our biggest game out there. We also published another game named Horse Tales. And we are quite surprised and quite proud, actually, how it all went. And it was quite a long journey. And yes, so that's from my side. Next to me is sitting Thomas.
Hi.
Thomas is one of our technicians, so to say. So like he's Unreal Engine expert, so to say. Like he's doing it quite a while for us. He's trying to like answer you a couple of those technical questions. And next to me on the other side is Laura.
Hello.
Laura is part of the production team, meaning like she and Emily are leading the production of Police Simulator. And Laura has been with us into the game for quite a while. She's been with the Gamescom and all. I think like it is, how long is it, Laura?
Almost a year.
Almost a year, nice. And Laura is also quite an experienced player, and Laura will take the chance to play the game since Thomas and me are really, really bad in this.
Yes.
And I'm gonna try to be your moderator and trying to like answer and you know regulate all these questions we hopefully achieve. Okay, so how are we gonna start? I think Laura, you're just probably just gonna start the game, and then while you are gaming, I'm trying to tackle you a couple questions during the gameplay. So, like you'll like find out, we are currently out of early access since a year, since the 10th of November, and we are at the moment having the game on all platforms. That was quite a tricky development. So, meaning not only PS4, so the old gens, also the new gens, PS5, Xbox S, and Xbox Series S. And that was quite a tricky development, so to say, because we are developing on all platforms at the same time, which we continue for the future. So I think that was one of the questions what we had, though, in the community. Actually found out why are the development processes and like releasing new features take it so long. So the reason of this is it's quite complex. Console development is really, really complex, right, Thomas?
Yes, it is.
Maybe you want to just give us a couple short glimpses into the console. What actually defines console development, or what's the comparison to the PC development, you would say?
The biggest downside, I would say, is especially for the older consoles, you have quite strict memory requirements. So if you're failing that, basically the game will crash. A lot of the newer, the majority of the PC players have simply better PCs than PS4s out, or the old Xbox. So publishing on PS4 or the older Xbox version required a lot of optimization, which in general is always great because then on PC it runs faster as well. But it basically took a few of our guys a lot of time extra to make it run on this.
All right.
An advantage of this, for example, is that every of the consoles is the same. So we can also do some loading time tricks that we can say, well, every Xbox will load 10 seconds. And we know that this is true because all of them are the same. So that's kind of fun as well.
All right, cool. So as Thomas already mentioned, there's a couple more experts working on the consoles in our team. Oh, Laura, by the way, can you just give us a quick rundown of this like really nice epic vehicle you have there? For those of you who haven't purchased it, it is the Highlander DLC car. Really, really nice. Laura, maybe you want to tell us a couple words about what was the was the influence on that, for example.
So for the Highlander, we wanted a really, really big car, so you can fit more people in it, and so it looks more like you can't destroy it that easily, let's say. So it feels like the police really shows presence. So that's what we thought when we designed it. Our art department did a really great job with also the interior design, as you can see here. It looks like a real car, so that is really, really nice. Right now we use the sample mod, which Nicolas from the art team provided in the Steam workshop. So if you want to mod it also after you purchased it, you can do that. Feel free with your creativity. You can also, if you have the ELS modding, change the lights on it, so that's also working. And as you can see, it's one of the biggest cars we have right now in the game.
Yes. A question, it's actually a good question, we actually see it here, is why do UDV hold 4 when there's only 2 seats in the back? Well, to be honest, we are still working on it, so there's probably going to be an iteration on the UTV with a different like seat setting in the back, right, Laura and Thomas?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Yeah. We can glimpse that because it's actually something we work on because we considered the feedback from the community, and it's obviously something we maybe have underestimated a bit in the beginning when we like brought it out, but we're working on it. Since the Highlander is the biggest car at the moment, maybe Thomas, you also can like tell us a bit about car balancing and the general car behavior between the vehicles and how complex it is.
Well, the player vehicles themselves are relatively okay from an AI point of view, but well, the majority of the problem there is with the balancing itself. There are a few different cars, let's say, and they all should feel different. And so we try to make them, I don't know, behave differently, be better in curves and stuff like that. And this should feel really chunky and weighty, let's say. So that's not really tech side, but more of a GD side of how can we make sure that this actually works. But the player vehicles themselves are decent from an AI size, from an AI programming size of view, I would say.
All right. Okay. Cool.
The other cars,
Good to know.
quite a different thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also there was something. The 2 cars cuddled on the screen. Let's ignore that for now.
Okay. Also, something we have to like give you with actually is that we are currently obviously playing on PC. Not that we don't want to play it on consoles, because we are actually streaming it in high definition, and it's easier to do that on a PC. So that's why we just play it on a PC. Okay. Will you add calls and where you need to use the gun? Well, that's a question we get like tackled quite a lot. We know that, and we have the difference here a bit because it's like game development in itself is way more complex than you may know. It's including a lot of stakeholders, a lot of decision makers, not only us from the development side, also obviously also the publisher, our partner astragon in this. Kind of like all different policies, politics, everything is just kicking in there, and it's not easy to just do that in a quick move. From our and my personal opinion, we definitely need to have gun usage in there at some like valuable scenarios. That doesn't mean that we are gonna have like the GTA style, just walking around Wild Wild West, just shooting everything. That's not what we want in this game, but it definitely needs some kind of realistic gun usage into it. In the end, you know, that's what we are fighting with astragon, our partner astragon, in it quite a lot to get them kind of convinced to do that with us. In the end, also, as I said, on their side, there's tons of shareholders and tons of like different stakeholders there. They need to like get the approval on that. So it's quite complex. We're working on it, and you can be 100% sure that we are really insisting on this, and we'll fight to the max for it. But in the end, I only could say, I'll leave it to astragon and like try to get it in as fast as possible. That's obviously for sure, yeah. Laura's a brilliant driver. Dylan writes that. Nice. Thank you, Dylan.
No, you need to make a question.
Can we get a character creator? I mean, I'm guessing that you're not talking about the character creator in terms of NPCs. You're talking about the character creator itself, some modding the character kind of, or like, you know, that's something we also like obviously considered from the beginning on. It's definitely possible from our side. It only takes time, and it's always relaying into that final decision. If we are convince Astragon, our partner in this, to like finance this and then kind of sort it out what we do in the next sprints and then the next kind of like feature settings and releases. So that's something I don't want to decline for now. It's still up on our list. Even if you don't see it on Trello, there's tons of stuff which you don't see on Trello, which we are discussing internally quite a bit and really, really intense. So sometimes, as I also said, in terms of like political, ethical, and all kinds of different reasons, we can't show and display everything we want and we're discussing at the moment on all kinds of aspects. But you can make sure like that we are really, really passionate and driven to extend this game to the max, and that includes obviously all kinds of features. Will we get more callouts, and which ones? Oh God. Okay, that's another good question. Obviously, since the release, since over 2 weeks, we actually got tons of feedback on that. People are asking for more callouts, for more variations, all that. Definitely a question, or definitely something we're gonna reconsider after the release to the roadmap, and it definitely will appear in the roadmap on a variation of it. Because we think we need to follow the communities actually here and here, and you know put more actually callouts out. But you also have to keep in mind that we are not like only want to do and release callouts just as a single action. We just always want to relate them with the gameplay. So adding more gameplay value is one of the core pillars to that game. So it needs to be interconnected, it needs to be kind of like connected with all kinds of features, with all kinds of settings, and that makes it kind of complex sometimes. And that's why often like adding more callouts is not a quick, it is a quick decision though, but it is definitely, it needs to be considered and needs to be done right from our side. So that's why it takes a bit of time. But you can make sure after the feedback from you as a community, we definitely will hopefully do more callouts on the game. That's happening for sure. Yes. Actually, by the way, because I see that like while Laura is frisking the person, or like actually using the UI wheel, we get it also quite a lot. It's a funny question why people are, when you like search or frisk people, why people like showing cucumbers or like stilettos in their handbags or whatever. That is probably also, like Thomas could answer a question, but that is ending up to the randomized system which is behind it. It's quite complex. So maybe you can tell me a couple points on that.
Well, the inventory system that we have is currently, I think, mostly used for random filler stuff, as well as some, well, switchblades and drugs or whatever you can find in this. But this also goes back to the generation of the humans themselves. So each of them have certain persona data that makes them not quite unique, but pretty similar to this, where you have, I don't know how to say that.
I did nothing wrong.
Well,
Try to describe it somehow.
you have a base seed that tells the game how the person should look and how it should behave in certain ways, whether it should ignore certain behaviors or rules, whether it should prioritize some actions over the others. And each of them have their own ones. So this base seed basically controls how the whole character is generated, from the visual stuff to like the face, what it is wearing, what it is currently doing, or prioritizing, and whether, when it's in a vehicle, whether it actually follows certain rules as well. Or they can also, I don't know, jaywalk, litter, what else?
All right. Thank you for that. Sure. Laura, what are you actually doing at the moment? You're just running around and trying to find that suspect?
Yeah.
Named Nasri Yoon Ki?
He is quite hard to find. I'm not sure if I will ever find him.
Could you open the map? You are in the right.
Wait.
Yeah, you are in the zone. Huh. Maybe on the. Did you go to the other side of the square?
I was over there. I was behind the building. I was over here. I was upstairs there. I'm pretty sure he just went away. I don't know.
Then you should get an update on the zone.
I'm just bad at finding him.
Yeah.
So also to say that again, we just at the moment we're playing on the PC version, and we playing on the last patch we have created, which is the 7.4. that you hopefully all installed and released. Oh God, it's telling our TV is just turning off in a couple of seconds. Can someone help us?
Yeah.
Get the
support,
get the
please.
remote from the TV before it's turning off, and Laura
And
can see
press
nothing.
OK. Or confirm. Nice.
Thank you.
Shout out to the text behind us.
Yeah. You probably don't see it. You obviously not see it because there's tons of people behind the screen actually supporting us from our team to make that release to actually make that stream happen.
I didn't
Found
Okay,
him.
I
Now I
think you
didn't see
found
how
it,
you
right?
found
You're just
him.
following her, running away on the street. Nice. Okay, let's ask a couple questions. We have another question from Jonathan. My friend and I say that unless you wear your hat, are you actually doing any police work?
I would add to that you need to mod it as well. Then you are doing police work. If you're not wearing your yellow ducky hat, you're doing police work.
Exactly.
All right.
Can we get NPC officers that will play with us? I'm not 100% sure what that question actually is meant, but you meaning like, are actually like real officers playing that game, or how would you define a question?
Yeah, like
Other
co-op
NPCs working.
NPCs, I guess.
Co-op NPCs, all right. Other NPCs working together with US officers.
Oh, please don't do that.
Oh yeah, I mean like co-op mode,
Yeah.
multiplayer. Of course, that's happening.
No, but with NPCs. As in multiplayer with NPCs.
Ah, all right.
Well,
That's tricky again, because as Thomas already mentioned, the system behind the NPC generation is randomized. It's a big system, and like to pick up the individual NPCs and play with them in a decent way is not really fulfilling this kind of randomized system. So we need to like pick special NPCs, make hero stories or whatever, to come up with these kind of like gameplay values. Am I right?
you are right, but even more than that, we would have to add a lot of AI to it right now. We would have to actually duplicate all the player abilities to work with AI as well.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work. So, I mean, I would like it because sometimes, I don't know, playing with other players is not what you want.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of work.
It's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be reconsidered with our team again, and it needs to be decided. Obviously, there's tons of like really high prior stuff that we want to get into the game, so the list is huge, and yeah, definitely needs to be considered in the future for sure. Will we get more action in the game? Oh, holy, that's a good question though. For that, I only can tell you just be patient and be thrilled. There is coming more. I don't want to tell you more, and I don't want to like sneak into what we actually do at the moment, but we're working on it, and we're consistently going to working on it, and it definitely will appear at one point. So, Laura, by the way, what you did though, like you tasered that guy?
Yeah, he stole a wallet.
Oh.
I have to search you. Kindly cooperate with me.
When can we expect the next update? Why
There's an
are
interest, though.
big updates getting released so late and so slow? I mean, I kind of already try to like answer the question. Like as we have said, like it is a really, really complex process to develop on all platforms at the same time. You don't want to know like what kind of technical constraints and technical depth behind that is. Like developing on several builds at the same time, get them kind of like into QA, get them tested. They need to like go like through first party submission and all that. So it's really complex. And in the end, you know, if you calculate that down, there's not really much time for us as developers to create those features. So it is already quite tight. And obviously, of course, we try to like do it as fast as possible, but it needs to be like proper and like really kind of done well, especially since we're out of early access. So that's why we need a bit of time actually to get the whole workflow right. But when you can expect the next updates, I mean, it's showing on Trello, and like, yeah, I don't want to glimpse that, but for sure, we're probably going to reconsider and probably going to reiterate and reorganize a bit Trello, since we achieved so much feedback from the community, from you guys, after the release. It definitely flows into our development process. Our specified holdouts like bank robberies, domestic disturbances, wellness checks, and residences is in consideration? That's a good question. Well, that depends in the end again on the whole process of financing and like get it kind of done with our publisher Astragon. Like I don't know, probably maybe I should like just tell a couple of you people because you probably don't know. Like often people or community I mentioned it's just a couple people working here. On police at the moment they're working like over 26 people in our company. It's a lot in all departments, meaning like technicians like Thomas, producers like Laura. We have obviously artists. Nico is coming later, for example. Game designers, QAlers, all that stuff. So it's a huge team, which needs to be fed, of course. And in the end, that's going to happening with the combination of our partner Astragon. So we are consistently trying and fighting for the needs and the next steps for that game, which we're still going to do and still going to like, yeah, definitely going to provide that for the future because it's a super nice game. But you have to also understand like decisions are often not really made quick and needs to be considered well. So that's why sometimes it needs to take a bit of time to accomplish that goal. Will there be any modding on the Xbox One? I mean, like first of all, if we do modding, we do it for all consoles because it doesn't make sense to just do it for one console. We need to like get the advantage for all the players. And since modding is like also another complex story, we definitely have to bring it in again. We've done the modding with the ELS system on the cars, so obviously we are kind of modding experts. We definitely can do this. Needs to be reconsidered. We take it into account for sure, and let's see what comes out of it. Cross-play functionality, also like a topic that we've tackled or that we've been like asked quite a while, also doing early access. Again, it's not something we can't do. We definitely can do this. It's possible. In the end, it needs to be decided and prioritized by our partner Astragon as well, if they're gonna go with it. In my personal opinion, we definitely should like tackle this. We definitely should achieve it because it's totally makes sense since we're developing on consoles. But we need to fight for it. We need to actually convince our publisher and partner in this. And yes, we're going to do it, hopefully, at one point. So, what do you have there? They have like this light system on the signal system on the Highlander.
Yeah, I thought I put it on because there's an accident. So I thought I just park in the next road so I don't block the whole traffic. And now I will clear up this accident.
Oh, look at that. That's a nice...
Not sure what is with the car. Let me check something.
What happened here? Is it a car accident? Like, is someone just crashed into that lady?
I think you have on the back the white car, the white taxi in the back.
Oh yeah, hand gesture. So something we improve to like solve accidents and get the traffic kind of organized and fluent again. Will we get more cars? And also like another question that I'm going to tackle after. So will we get more cars? Well, again, from our perspective, it's always cool and it's always needed. And we see the reaction to the Highlander and the cars we have currently in the game. So it is definitely going to happen. I can't tell you exactly when. But what I can actually glimpse you is that we are currently also in production of a couple of upcoming cars that'll surprise you and that'll all kind of please you. So there's definitely coming more. And a question which is related to that, like, will you improve car controls in the future to make it smoother? Well, that's again quite complex. The system behind the car balancing at itself, since we're developing on Unreal 4. We can't implement, new tools from Unreal 5, for example. So that's why we have to work with our systems that we have created, and the car balancing at itself is quite complex. But what I can tell you, like from the upcoming updates over the next month, it'll definitely improve. We're gonna rebalance and readjust the whole car balancing at itself to the next level, and that's something you're all gonna feel and like pretty much about it, right? Thomas?
Yeah.
Is that Is that
There
right?
are definite improvements.
I know
And
how to drive.
to be honest, I'm looking forward also to some of the new cars. They are very fun to drive around now.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Sure, I'll
But always keep in mind also, like we are really tech driven studio. We always want to focus on like really immersive gameplay with a lot of value in it. That doesn't like that also comes into for the cars, for example. Only like bringing out new cars without connecting them to the current gameplay and connecting them with, for example, new features and stuff like that or callouts doesn't make sense for us. So that's why we try to always fulfill that goal and go like full on and 180 degrees perspective onto it. Is there a plan to increase resources and to allow additional development? I'm not 100% sure what this question is meant exactly, but I'm guessing how long keep enhancing the game. I've seen the 2023 roadmap. I was just curious if it's continue for years. Oh, good tricky question though. Obviously, since, and I could probably speak quite loudly for us and proudly for us, it is, as I said, one of the biggest and best games we've created so far. So from the perspective of, from developers' perspective, of course we're gonna put all the effort into it. But as we also said it needs to be financed and it needs to be kind of refinanced by our partners, Astragon, and hopefully you guys as like really stronghold community. So that's why I can't really please you with that question exactly when, but definitely what's shown on the trailer roadmap at the moment is 23, and obviously from our side we would like to really extend this game to the max over the next years, since this is a really I would also say we actually with the police simulator we created like a really kind of, I wouldn't say monopole, but like a really game which is unique, which is not really, there's not really much you can compare with this. So it is a really special product that totally makes sense to extend and evolve to the next level for sure. The decision in the end, as I said, is always a business decision between us and Astragon as well. But from our opinion, like we would like to extend it to the max and just give this nice game the last final polish and like gameplay value, even more and bigger gameplay values. That's our goal for sure. Exactly, and also something what we should mention there is you can like really support us in this. Like the more obviously play the game, like the game, being active in the community, trying to support it to friends, to the network, exactly, Discord, Steam, all that is helping us to get it kind of fundraised and get it kind of financed for us, which is quite nice, and also for you in the end it will pay off, So definitely something we can motivate and ask you about. Can we get a first-person view when we're not using a vehicle? Good question. Like when we're walking around as like a police guy without using a vehicle? So, yeah. Yes, we can, right? Like, isn't that?
I mean, in theory, there shouldn't be much of an issue. It would be a little bit. We would have to adapt the camera placement and the interaction. For example, if you point your gun, you would then, I don't know, have to view it a little bit differently. But I don't think it should be that difficult to implement. It's more of a, do we have the resources allocated to it, to be honest?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it would be definitely a nice feature to have.
Yeah. We'll be able to have different lights and sirens is another question we have from the community. Well, next to the, as we said already, we've done the ELS modding, and that's a system we easily can implement to the other cars as well. But we always have to keep in mind, oh, that was a hard crash. What's happening now?
And it was your fault.
Yeah,
and it was your
my
fault. But look at that Highlander. There's not really a dent into it. It's just a rough vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Just a bit
Are
action in the door.
Like that?
No, I want to park here.
Oh.
You want to park? Laura's just do that really. Wow, that car is big.
So much for being a good driver.
Yeah. You're very nice.
Looks drivable.
The cover out of that game, like okay, I see where you're going actually. Like so, the sirens at itself or the lights actually obviously are connected to realism. That's always the thing we wanted to follow. So back then when we started police, we had all kinds of ideas to bring ambulance, also all this into it. You know, like which the red light is obviously coming from. But we can't just go like with green lights or something like that, or like something super unrealistic, unless you mod yourself. You know, that's something you can do. But it'll be always that kind of like, you know, focus on be realistic at the same time. A lot of you may know that we are consistently in like you know exchange with our real police officers in terms of realism. What's possible? Is that true?
Yeah,
Is that the
have been
right kind of like approach and all that stuff to make sure it follows laws, it follows rules and all that. Because you know, in the end, it's a simulator and it's not a RPG game. Even if there has RPG elements to it, you know, we definitely want to follow the simulator genre as well. That's why we have it kind of realistic. So, what else do we have on questions? What is the best thing you guys worked on this game? The whole game, I would say. You know, in my opinion, it's really, really complex. It's a super nice game. And you can make sure like the team is really, really proud of it because it is our first simulator. And to be that successful, to be that kind of cool, that kind of like really good reviewed, and also sold is for us, makes us quite proud. I think the whole production at itself is quite valuable and promising. Probably every of our team members has a different opinion on that, I would say. But in general, for my opinion, it's the whole game we worked on. You know, it's a super nice game, yeah, that's from my perspective. I don't know if you guys want to tell a couple of your favorite things you worked on.
I mean, I did only a little bit of stint in modding, but to be honest, modding is probably the favorite one. Because it's kind of interesting to implement it into the game as well. But also, to be honest, the majority of it is how many mods they were created instantly.
Yeah, yeah.
There were so many, I don't know, texture mods or ELMS mods, and not even only the fun ones, but also, I don't know, the extra realistic one where people went out of the way to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
And then do it in like, I don't know, a day or two within a publish of the mods. That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
really
definitely
awesome.
is for me, modding is high up there.
Yeah, totally. Laura, what's your opinion on that? Your personal opinion on that?
I think arresting a Scotties is really, really nice because we did the, like the cells and everything, and I was, quite involved in that. So I'm really happy about that. I really like that. I think it's fun.
For me, it's obviously like my personal opinion also is obviously everything is connected to cars. I like cars. I like the whole driving of it, the whole behavior of it. So that's also something I really, really like about this game. Is any Christmas update planned? Well, never say never. I would say like it is. It's tough. It's tough. We're working on it. But for now, I can't tell you a specific date. If it's before Christmas or after Christmas. Why did you choose Boston as the inspiration for Brighton? Oh, that's kind of like a cool question we always get. Like, so for those of you who have like been in US cities, a lot of US cities, they've been like planned and structured like through infrastructure, streets and all that pretty on the rice board. So it's like pretty straight streets, blocks, and like not really much dynamic into the street. That was one of the reasons what we liked about Boston. It's quite diverse. It's quite individual to every segment, to every like district, in real time as well. Also, when it comes to architecture, like buildings, brick wall buildings, for example, are quite like famous in Boston. So like the diversity of the city, and the individual like city setting at itself was what we really liked about Boston. What we took to as an inspiration for it. If you, for example, go for New York, that's a classic one, but New York is just really kind of you know, a lot of games do in New York, and it is, as I said, quite straightforward, big blocks, and not really something new or something cool. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
right.
I was talking to about the accident. I didn't even see it. I
Oh.
was like, oh,
Look at that.
interesting.
3 injured people on the floor. What are you gonna do now, Laura? What's the steps on it?
What did they done? God, oh wait.
More important is the traffic is still flowing.
Let's get the traffic cones.
Of course, it has to happen on the most wide street. Wide street.
Always.
First simulator. You should be proud of the work you have done. Yeah, thank you. We definitely are. It is. I mean, Astragon, our publisher and partner in this, they're quite experienced simulators. They do it for like over 20 years now, and they have a couple good simulators out there. But you can can be sure that we are really proud of that what we achieved so far, and it shows again how much like technical depth, how much like power and like passion is in our team to develop that fast on a complete new genre. Obviously, of course, we've been concentrating on developing an Unreal Engine for quite a while. That was always kind of a goal and kind of a target for us. But you can also make sure during the development process, that's why was one of the reasons why we took early access as well. We weren't like done yet, and we are not done yet on the game currently. So that's why we always trying to improve it and make it better. And you as a community and that's something I don't want to emphasize enough, is just it is really valued, and we are really thankful to have you as a really strong and bounded community to this product, which helped us to as I said, to extend it to the max and make it kind of your product and your vision. Obviously we can't follow all the wishes and features you want to have in there, but we try to kind of summer it up, rate them, prioritize them, get them kind of decided, and then work on it. That's the process we're going to work on. Could you explain a bit more about how stacking charges could work? Oh, that's a question that I will have to give to my colleagues here. I don't know if Laura or Thomas wants to tackle this question.
Do you want to go ahead?
I mean, I wasn't the guy that is implementing it, so
probably see. Yeah.
I mean, I can guess. So basically, the way it's currently working is that every NPC has an evidence assigned to him. Whether it's legit evidence or whether you are currently doing something wrongly, accusing him of something wrongly, well, then that is deciding by this. And as far as I know, we can only give it one right now, simply because that was way easier to implement. Because for everything that you add, you have to add, in this case, multiplayer checks as well. For example, is this valid? From the client point of perspective, which just adds complexity. So we did it with one first, and I think we are currently doing it for multiple. Yeah. So we will then, I would guess, it's hard to say without actually knowing specifics. In theory, we just, add them to a list of, this is the charges that are brought against you, and these are the evidences. And then we just compare them. But just compare them is also a little bit relative because, they can expire. What happens if the evidence was that he didn't use the turn signal 2 streets ago? That's a little bit then more difficult to do. And especially if you want to do that in a good and visually clear UI, that's also a little bit more. But I would say these are the challenges and the basic idea behind it. But then again, I'm not the guy implementing it, so.
Yeah, but it actually shows you a short glimpse how complex it is behind it, and it's not an easy fix, and that's why we also need a bit of time to implement it. Actually, there's another question: where can we report bugs, and how? What would you need? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's obviously we can report bugs to Astragon's support mail. It's actually showed on every channel, so Discord, Steam, whatever you want. You can support on all channels with it. There's tons of people behind it, following up and supporting us in this. Not only the Astragon itself with the community management, it is also the QA testers, who's supporting us in this and reporting bugs. kind of sort them out, and we are then gonna, you know, prioritize them and then try to solve them as fast as possible. So we are really pleased if you could send us screenshots, hardware specs. So the more detailed info we're getting on the bug you have, you know, you have like achieved or not achieved, I would say, like kind of like lived or whatever, the better it is. So like it doesn't, for us, it's quite important to reproduce the bug, you know, and the more detailed info we have, especially like technical info, what kind of hardware you're using, like, you know, even your CPU, everything you can like add to it will help to reproduce it for us faster, and will probably then, you know, get done sooner. So that's definitely something you can support us with. Right?
Especially,
Thomas?
personally, I love crash dumps. I don't think every build or every game really, or every version of the Xbox, PC, whatever, actually creates them. But if you have them, always send them with us, because without them, it's really hard to actually duplicate what happened. So the crash dump is basically like a miniature save of everything that's currently in the game, of the actual stuff that's right now happening, which is way more advanced than just a save game. So it directly also points to what is currently crashing. So with this, we are basically set to fix it already. Without it, it's really hard.
It is really hard, yeah, totally.
You can get the crash dump, they are in your Steam apps folder. So if you go to your hard drive where you install Steam apps, then the police simulator, and then it's in Boston, saves, and then crash dumps, I think. I would need to have like, I would have to look up the exact path, but it's inside of the Steam, and then the police simulator, and then saved.
Exactly. We can like our community, like our team actually, our community manager Vladi from Astragon can probably publish that exact location to it, to just 100% make sure that you all kind of get it and see where it can support us.
Yeah. And then again, I'm unsure on how to do it on consoles. I'm not even sure whether you can do it completely, but at least Steam, like PC stuff, would be awesome.
100%. Will the Steam Deck be supported? Oh, good question. Well, again, when it comes to our personal opinion, we would love to support it, and it's definitely technical. It's definitely possible. I wouldn't say it's easy. It is definitely possible, and it will take quite a bit of time and effort to do it. But from our side, we have the knowledge, we have the team gained, and we definitely can make it happen. We need to have the decision and the financing of astragon to accomplish that. So there's a question about the giveaway influencer kit to Steam if we want. Oh, Laura, that's something you have to tackle. So like there's a question, a giveaway influencer kit in the stream if we want.
We want.
Well, we definitely want. It's sitting here. I see it,
Yeah.
you know. Laura, maybe you can tell us a bit what's in that influencer kit.
Well, we can just show it.
Oh yeah, Thomas is just gonna pick it up.
Yeah, we have it here.
We have it here. Kind of like, sit down again.
I hope I don't drop it or something. And can I actually open it without?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. It's quite easy. Do you want to
Maybe you
show
want to
it?
just show it into the cam a bit, that we have a
Sure,
bit more
let me see.
detailed info about it. So it's a really nice packaging.
Police don't follow us.
Exactly, with the nice police car, a foamy one, where you just can like, de-stress yourself. A nice like handmade donut,
Donnie.
What else is in there? We have like a
Notebook with a pen and our officer's manual, which is actually really nicely.
in a printed version, like
hold
super
this up.
nice. Yeah, exactly.
And then also there should be a calendar, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
And it's
is the
gonna be
calendar. Yeah.
stuck as well. So yeah, we have a custom-made police simulator calendar, which is awesome. But to be honest, Donnie is the best part.
Donnie's the best part. It's a handmade one.
Yeah,
I think we got him over Etsy or something, right?
I think so.
So yeah, we're definitely gonna like give that package to some of you. I don't know how exactly are we gonna do this, but
It's
like
on there.
All you have
Oh.
to do is just drop an
Exclamation mark,
exclamation
command.
mark in the chat, and then a lucky person which will get randomly picked will get a nice.
and we're gonna send it out
Officer
like,
kit.
who's the fastest one? And Who's the bidded one? Who's gonna pick it up? Nice. Will we will get widescreen support? Another thing, like we support a couple of the widescreens already. Since we have our own QA department internally with widescreens as well, we're supporting a couple of them. Again, if you want to support us in this and get it kind of more prioritized, send us like more detailed feedback of your stats, of your setting at home. You know, what kind of setting you have, what kind of screen you have, what's the resolution you're playing on, and stuff like that. It's the more we have, the better we can develop again. And the more it's shown up on the channels and asked by the community, obviously, the more it has the chance to get like into the Trello and get kind of done. But you can make sure it's consistently something we're gonna work on, and we're still gonna work on for sure. We'll be able to have different weather. Imagine the rework.
Oh.
Oh gosh.
Actually, it wouldn't be that much of a rework.
I don't wanna underline that. I mean, that's you mean like in terms of snow?
In terms of reaction to the snow. The reaction itself would be relatively easy, but the fallout of this, a lot more accidents would be terrible.
Yeah. So like what Thomas again is trying to emphasize here, it's connected obviously with, it's not only an article effect or something, it is definitely connected with the, especially with the AI of the cars and the balancing of the cars and everything to it, which is quite complex in terms of there needs to be a lot of things rebalanced, readjusted. It'll definitely can and you know could happen.
Would be fun.
It would be super fun, to be honest. And Boston is a city where it also like snows a lot. So at the moment we only have like kind of scenarios where it's a bit like wet on the street, but it's not really super rainy and all that. But it'll be reconsidered. It's something we definitely gonna keep dragging for quite a while. But since there's a lot of constraints next to it, it's not something we just can like easily fixed and easily do. If you want to do it, you want to get it right, and that takes quite a bit of time to do that and develop it in the right direction.
But I'm pretty sure Art would have a lot of fun with it.
Oh yeah, Art would, but I can already hear Moritz, our optimization guy, screaming because a lot of snow would not be nice on the older consoles.
Exactly. It's adding up memory, it's adding up performance, and also it would add up into, for example, the systems we have created in the cars, for example, and also in the NPC. So if you do that, something like that, you have to get some kind of work mode on the NPCs, meaning they have to carry out umbrellas, kind of I don't know, start running or something. So it is really, really complex and has a lot of relations to it that actually shows how complex it is, and it's nothing you just can like do as a quick fix. Like technical, it is possible, but if you get it kind of fluent, done, and emergent, it definitely needs to be done right. Holy, that's a good question. I like that one. Will we get car chases? Well, we bring it up in a team and discuss it. But from our perspective, from our opinion, it needs to happen. It would be awesome. And you can make sure that we fight for it, that it needs to be part of this game. Yeah, that's all I can say right now.
Okay, here's your accident report.
This report is basically...
Should we maybe tackle some art questions?
Yeah, we can tackle a couple of questions if you don't mind. Like, so what we do then is probably gonna exchange our colleague here. Thank you, Thomas, for supporting us in this. Super nice.
You're welcome. And
see you. Have a good journey. And thank you to Thomas. Meanwhile, I'm gonna tackle another couple of questions. So will you add more NPCs, such as kids and old people? Again, that's exactly a good example where we like, how do you name that properly? Where we actually running into the problem of the systems, or not problem, the challenges of the systems we've created, and developing on Unreal 4, for example. Since the system behind NPCs is randomized, in terms of skins, in terms of behavior and all that stuff. It is quite complex to get like new variations into it, but it's not impossible. But maybe like let's welcome Nico for a sec, then he probably can ask answer a couple of these questions.
Hello.
Let's get this kind of cable
yeah.
behind you. It looks better though.
Yeah.
So
look
that's
at the cable
Nico.
away.
That's one
Hi.
of our actually lead artists on the game. He also worked for it for quite a while. Nico, maybe you just want to tell us a couple like features and a couple of your favorite features you worked on to the I should adjust it. Good now?
Okay.
Good now?
Yeah. Okay, now it's fine.
Better? All right.
I sadly cannot tell you my favorite feature yet, because still a secret, but I've worked on some NPCs. I also, one thing that was very funny was creating a tutorial on how to create a modding texture. So everything with modding is great as well for me. Yeah, I'd keep it like that for the moment, but if we have a stream in 1 year or so, I can tell you way more. What I personally very liked.
Yeah, good question. Good answer though, good answer. Will your characters in the future be able to eat donuts?
I don't know.
There are some ideas we are bouncing right now. Let's say we didn't start any work on it, but there are some ideas we are bouncing around that.
Yeah, but would you even consider eating such cute donnies? I don't think so.
You tell me what you saw.
I mean, it's obviously kind of a cliche thing for, for police officers to eat donuts and eat them a lot, but it's also. I mean, it's a nice to have thing, but it's nothing will increase the gameplay value a lot. It's just once you've seen a couple of times, you could probably get kind of bored with it, and if it's not connected to like additional gameplay, a feature, a call out, whatever. Police station completely out of donuts, just freaking out, whatever, then it doesn't make sense to, increase that or prioritize that as a super high needed feature. But it's a nice to have, and we definitely, have considerations and have kind of different ideas how we can implement that in somehow into the game. Oh, there's another good question. Will we get more depth? First aid options. Currently injured people are really, really unrealistic. That's a good point. Since I already also told you that quite a couple of times, we are a tech-driven, this whole game is a tech-driven game, which feeds in a lot of gameplay value, immersive, emergent gameplay and all that stuff. Is the resolution out of why we can't go too deeply visual on some of the aspects. So for example, to create wounds and create injuries in a really, really artsy, deep way, it is a lot of work. But if it's not feeding into the systems we've created and the gameplay value itself as a big topic or a big core pillar, it doesn't make sense for us. Even if it's nice and it looks shiny and all that stuff, it's super cool. But in the end, we want to feed the long-term gameplay value, which is, average players, normally play 6-8 hours easily, and that's because we have so much relations to proper features and related gameplays. But maybe Nico, you want to tell us a couple points where we maybe could do something
Regarding injuries, it's definitely something that would be very cool. But again, it's a lot of work. We would have to definitely add a way to dynamically add injuries, and of course a way to treat people ourselves, and probably not too in depth because this is a police simulator and we are not a fully fledged medical staffer. So that's something to consider, but maybe not go way too deep into.
I mean, yeah, Definitely, it is definitely the possible relation to that. For example, is you have like first aid as a police officer at itself, but you could like more complex wounds or injuries then could be solved by the ambulance, having like a more detailed, treatment of ambulance drivers as a connecting feature to you as a police officer on that like site of accident, for example, is something which makes totally sense, in that regards. But as we said, to focus more on the visual and polishing of those wounds and injuries is kind of rebalancing us from the core pillars of that game, which is this immersive and emergent long gameplay value that we have in the game right now. Are there any plans to implement undercover police cars in the future? Well, I would say never again to that, because that's also a question which has been dragged on for quite a while. We definitely want to have, like we as a developers, they definitely want to have them in there because it totally makes sense. You could like add tons of gameplay value to it, be undercover cop and all that stuff. So we'll fight for it. I'm asking you to be a bit more patient, but it's definitely something we have a pretty hard eye on. That's for sure. Another question we have, what about the time of day adjustment when it's 12 a.m. and the sun is still out? Oh. Well, the question to that, the answer to that is probably just a visual kind of bug or a visual thing that we can easily fix, kind of. So we're definitely going to put that on our list for sure. If you have something like that in mind, just as again, like report that bug, report that kind of issue you have with a couple really detailed info, and then we try to solve it as fast as possible. Will the spotlights on all cars ever be functional and connected to gameplay? I mean, I'm guessing with spotlights you mean the classic spotlights we see. Laura's driving at the moment, like police cars normally have these kind of spotlights on each side. Police officers can steer them from the inside, which is quite nice. At the moment, I think you only can appear them like during a night on a special occasion or something. Am I right?
They currently don't cast any light or shadow.
Oh.
That is something we'd have to implement. And yeah, I mean, it's in Trello since day one. And we're trying to get it in. But then we have to do that properly. We also have to rig them, of course, so to make them dynamically adjustable, so it's you can actually point them towards something. But I'd really like to have that. It's a small thing, but it just adds some immersion, especially when you play in co-op.
A question we always we get tackled a lot is if we could have more multiplayer than 4 people, or actually like more multiplayer than the current situation. I mean, you do like play in co-op mode at the moment. To like increase multiplayer systems on the game, from our side, like technical, definitely possible, but it is a big thing, because the more players you add to it, the more we have to readjust the systems behind it. At the moment, like since we did that game, it was only mentioned from the beginning on to go with co-op mode. So as I said, it's not impossible, but it needs to be done right, and it is something we it's not decided yet for that game. So if we're going to continue with it, it's, as we said, it's quite complex, and that's you can make sure that on that side it's not like a cheap excuse. It is quite complex on that side, but we try to push it again to make it kind of happen if it's possible. Will there be new people and text voice line variations? I mean, that's something obviously which is happening always when you improve a game and do kind of patches to it, do releases and all that stuff. It implements or implies automatically new voice lines and all that. I'm guessing a couple of you mentioned like having new voice lines in terms of like new call outs and all that. like as we said, if we get the decision right, and if we get the goal to do it with callouts, it's obviously going to come. But also underlining on that is you also have to kind of like consider that behind that is tons of like costs in terms of localization and all that. So the more you do, the more variations you do, the more it needs to kind of like refinance and all that, which is quite complex sometimes. And you can make sure like the localization on that product is, you know, it's expanding to the max, which is needed, but it always needs to kind of have a balance to gameplay value, connected features, and all that to make it kind of profitable for us and Astragon as well. Great job, guys. It's a fun game. And from a criminal prosecutor, it's fairly accurate. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for that feedback. I hope you're all enjoying working on this project. Yeah, you can make sure we all enjoy working on this project for quite a lot. As I said, we've been like over the whole period of that game. I mean, we started developing that game in early 19. And since then, we're just consistently developing with it. As I said at the beginning, like normally average team of 25 people working on it in our studio. Overall, probably more than 50, 60 people worked on it from different departments, different kind of like supporters and all that. But yes, we are proud of that game, and I think we did quite a good job in terms of what do you think, how it's selling, how the people are reacting to it. Actually on point, I would say. Pretty good. Yes. What are your plans for long life end game of PSPO? I mentioned that that question was coming up before. Obviously, from our perspective as developers, we want to like consistently working on that IP, because since we created such a great MP, it totally makes sense to emphasize it, to like max it out, to extend it in all kinds. Which is not only in profitable reasons a useful case. It's just it totally makes sense to the IP itself. You know, you don't want to just create a brand and then just let loose and like do nothing to it. Doesn't make sense. For our opinion, we definitely want to consistently actually developing for that IP for that game. And I think with the current roadmap with Astragon, we are following up on that, but definitely there is way more we can do and we need to do on that game, and that's why we still fighting for it to get it kind of lined up in the roadmap. Do you want to say something, Nico? You want to add?
I think I am a constant spoiler danger. So the less I say, the better probably. No. I think you said it pretty well.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So I just can't like emphasize and can't like point that out enough. For you as like really sometimes, you know, you don't have the patience, you don't have the whole like, you know, picture behind it, how complex it is to develop a game like this, not only in terms of financial aspects, also in terms of like the team aspects. Stakeholders, decisions, you know, policies, all kinds of aspects affecting to it, which sometimes we forget as players, you know, what is behind that, and we don't have the budget like the super big AAA companies to develop a game like this. So it's a consistently ongoing process while we try to like do the best for the game and for the product itself. That, you know, sometimes it's slowing it down a bit, but you can make sure we are really thrilled about that game. We put a lot of effort into this, and it has quite a good impact into it. And so we're definitely going to keep on this IP and working on it. Okay. We have another question from the community. I notice we have a lot of vending machines around the city. Will be able to use them or grab snacks while you on a shift? Nico or Laura, is that something you want to answer?
So yeah, this feeds a bit into the donut eating question you had before. It's basically the same direction as I said. we're currently discussing it. We're working on some designs to figure out how it can be shown in the game as realistic as possible. So we even consider not to be like the cliches we have around police officers. We know we have already donuts in the precinct, but that's just for fun. It's always a Friday, basically. So there's something coming. So you can look forward to the future of the game. So be excited.
Ooh, I can actually answer this question.
Maybe you want to read it first. Like that's a good question, though.
Yeah. Why are there bus stops with no buses? Because buses are super hard to do. Not from an art-wise perspective. I mean, we worked on police cars and other cars. They are probably as hard as them. But from a tech perspective, buses are extremely hard because they are extremely long vehicles. And they wouldn't add too much gameplay value. It's just for, as a visual thing, which personally I would love to have because I placed all those bus stations and replaced them sometimes. So I'd love to have buses, but they don't add too much gameplay value and are extremely hard to implement. Thomas could give you a complete rundown of all the traffic system adjustments behind it. So yeah, that's why we don't add them, sadly.
Exactly. It is quite complex. It's feeding in all kinds of systems, like car physics, AI, all that. Also, you need to have then like kind of a procedural situation to it, like, you know, like NPCs coming out of the bus, getting into the bus. It is a tough one, and it is also, like Nico mentioned, if you consider it in terms of gameplay value, it's a nice to have, it's a nice visual effect, but it's not like, as long as you're not like feeding into like adding relations in terms of gameplay or features to it, it's nothing. You know, we pride ourselves on the top 10 or top 20 or something. There's tons of stuff we want to implement, which is, in our opinion, way more important to that game. Oh, you're going back to the precinct and you have like a setup cars here, Laura?
Yeah.
How much do we have at the players? Like the players in the beginning have how many cars if they're going to start the game?
0. And
0,
after that, they unlock the Cruiser, and after that the Panther Z, and after that the Gladiator 6, or the other way around. I might have gotten it wrong. But the UTV is available from the beginning or at the same time as the Cruiser. I'm not fully sure, but
From the first car shift.
From the first car shift. So for the ones who have the UTV, they get it at the same time as the Cruiser.
Yes. And also something adding to the cars, as you may like see, we are we don't have like exact licensed models in cars here in the game. We like these are license-free models, but obviously a lot of them are kind of inspired by like current real cars out there, to compare them with, like in terms of size and exact looks and lines and all that. Nico is doing a great job in that. If you're gonna get like maybe you can like tell the people how that process is gonna happen when you know want to implement a new car.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just me, it's also my awesome colleague Jacqueline, who did the UTV, for example. But we always take a look at search online for what is being used in certain states as police cars, or in general in the US. Does it make sense that we have that car as a police car? And then we search for something, search for inspirations and create something that is inspired by it, but not 100% that model. Yeah, but they all have to fulfill different roles. So we cannot just make 2 versions of the Cruiser, for example, that just look a bit different, because that wouldn't make sense gameplay-wise. So we try to bring new, a new feeling with every car, and a new role that you have with every car. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all in all, creating a police car is definitely the hardest thing art-wise that we've currently encountered, and it takes an extremely long amount of time. There are a lot of sub-steps that need to be completed.
Exactly. Laura, there's a question out of the community. Shouldn't you use your turn signals when you're driving?
I would always recommend using turn signals. Currently, we don't play in simulation mode, so you don't get any points deducted or something like that. Even if we drive too fast, we play in casual mode because we are here in a casual environment today. But overall, I would recommend you to, in-game and in the real world, use your turn signals just to be a little bit more safe. That's just a little advice.
All right, cool. Well, I think we just addressed a lot of questions, and hopefully you guys are pleased and kind of like fulfilled and kind of like happy that we try to tackle a couple of them. Please don't hesitate to like ask us more questions on the channels. You know, keep the traffic running. That's quite important for the game, for the whole community at itself. We really want to thank you guys to give us a chance here, like chatting with you and like asking you, like showing you a couple of glimpses, what's behind it, you know, what's the different aspects, developing a game like this, and steps and all that. And we definitely can tell you, be thrilled and kind of be patient to it. There's definitely coming more that are going to surprise and you're going to like a lot. So that's definitely for sure. We will want to thank you from Asia's side. And again, if you have like anything you want to criticize, you want to point out, you want to have, whatever, use the channels that we have, Steam, Discord, all the other ones to make that appear, and then you know, get into the whole process of reconsidering and maybe get it into the game. So I want to thank you from our side, from Azer, and I hope you liked it so far. And if you like it, thumbs up, and you know, like, be thrilled in the community. If you like want to see more of this, want to have another dev QA in the future, it's definitely something we always like to do, even if it's a lot of effort for us. But it's definitely something we like to do, to be hands-on with the community. So if you want to see more of it, go ahead and just tell us. And thank you for that really nice, epic feedback, for your questions, for your support. And yes, really just clap, probably.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.